welcome everyone to Stock Talk for September 3rd. Hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. And today, coming out of the weekend Tuesday, we see the indices down just a tad bit today. But recently, we've noticed that intraday swings of the Dow, for example, 200 to 400 points, is of the norm. And that corresponds to increased volatility. So this is the S&P 500 on the daily time frame SPY. So this was August. We had increased volatility, both to the downside and to the upside. And this is likely to carry over to this month as well. So expect more wild swings this month. Now, if you look at this range, by now everyone knows this trading range. We've been in this range for a month already. So this candle here was August 2nd. And here we're at September 3rd. So we're still in this range. The resistance is around 293.20 to 293.30. And then your support level is this higher low slanting trend line, which corresponds to the 150 period moving average. And that's currently around SPY 287. All right, so we're still in this range. So I want to point out a couple of things here on this chart is that first off, even if we break over this resistance of around 293.20 and 293.30, right, we still have to contend with this higher low trend line, the yellow trend line, and that trend line will continue to increase as time passes. That will be around SPY 297.60, upwards around SPY 298. So that's your resistance level. Now your support levels, should we make a move down, is the 150, pointing this out in the past, followed by your red line supports. That's the 200 period moving average around SPY 280. And your red line support, which is around SPY 278.40. Okay? Those are your major support levels. So why am I placing emphasis on more of these support levels rather than resistance levels? Resistance is important in this jittery market, surely. But, I kind of talked about the overall trend for SPY in the past. And if you were just to give this chart to anyone and say, hey, this is the 2-day time frame, with whatever ticker, right? Where do you think this chart will go given time? And for most people, they would say, okay, well, this chart, looks like if this is 2-day, likely will push higher given time. Well, the big question here is time, right? That's the asterisk. When is it going to be? Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be next month? End of the year? Next year? We don't know yet, right? So right now, I can see a lot of jitteriness, but if we focus on the big picture, that's why I'm focusing on the support levels, because expectation continues to be that we hold these support levels, given that the overall trend continues to be bullish. So I'm going to remove these arrows once again. Now, let me just talk about the bearish side of things, because certainly there's a lot of bears out there, and we got to always take a look at the other side, right? Just in case we're in this a different market environment, what would need to change? Well, we talked about TVIX in the past, how TVIX is one barometer that can flip my perception from bullish to bearish. But another thing I need to see is, so here's the S&P 500. For the S&P 500 to curl over, right? Obviously, if we can get close to the 150 and break below the 150, that's the first step for the bears to take control of this market. But there's much more that they have to do to prove that they've flipped the overall trend, right? So what they would have to do, which they haven't done yet, and this is why I haven't given that much weighting to the bearish case, is that they would have to obviously play this out to the downside. And I'd like, eventually I'd like to see something like this, and we try to rally higher and then curl on lower. That would be a pretty definitive sign that the bears have taken control. But obviously you can see this would take a lot of time to pass for that scenario to convince me, because there's a lot of patterns. It can do an up move, and then it can go higher and move lower. There's a lot of scenarios that can happen, right? But I need the chart pattern to tell me something first before I can decidedly say that the trend has flipped, or the major trend has flipped from bullish to bearish. Does that make sense? So if you were just wondering, how come I keep pointing out the bullish side of things? Why Why am I always bullish? You know, that's why. Just I need the charts to tell the story first, and then I will follow the charts, right? Okay. Again, I'm not discounting fact of near-term volatility to the downside. That's possible, but I need to see a series of things to happen for bears to take control. All right, looking back at TVIX, which tracks volatility. So here's TVIX. Once again, the pattern's still the same here. Still looking for a break of 27.28 to tell me that bears have taken more control in this market. Until that happens, this is just short-term volatility on an overall downtrend. So TVIX, you know, certainly looks like, you know, we're pushing again towards the upper range of the resistance, this higher low line. But overall, can't give too much weighting on this until I see a higher high developed when compared to this high. Now, you might be asking, well, Kevin, what about this high here? Is this high notable? It is notable for me, okay? The high comes in at 24.11. So if we can break this high, it would point more of a bearish signal for me, but it's not going to tilt me into the bear favor, okay? Again, my bearish stance will continue to be this high here, which will certainly prove something to me. But breaking this high, because this is all in the same vicinity, this is all in the same chart pattern, right? This is one story that's playing out. All right, so that's TVIX. So let's look at crude oil. So this is crude oil futures /CL. So you can see this was Thursday, last Thursday. Here was Friday, and here is today. So crude oil, you can see initial move and breaking out of the resistance line, but rejected the day later, right? So like I said, with this lower high trend line, breaking over is bullish, breaking below is bearish. And that's just the line in the sand for me. It can break over that line, but if it breaks under the next day, then this trend is still bearish. Now, just, you know, keep in mind that we're still getting wedged in. So that wedge, you can see, you know, bears today pushed us all the way back down towards the support level again. If one were to draw this support line as a wedge, you could do this as such if you wanted to, but we're just going to keep it like this, the wedge like this, and it's going to have to break in one direction or the other. But so until we can break over this resistance line of around 55.66, this will still be viewed as bearish, but it should break in one way or the other sooner rather than later. So we'll see how this pattern continues to play out. With natural gas, yeah, so, you know, I kind of talked about in the last talk to how there are wheels that are moving in different areas of the markets, and this is one wheel that is moving. Natural gas, all of a sudden, looks like it has more of a propeller to move higher. So that's interesting. Good follow through. I like to see even more follow through, but this trend is attempting to reverse. I'd like to see, like I said, first breaking this high, of course, but also establishing a more of a higher low pattern, right? Establishing a low of around 2.268 and bouncing off of that area. If we can see some more follow through by natural gas by holding a low, and that is when it retraces, I'd like to see it hold that low and then reverse off of it. That's a good sign. But natural gas certainly is showing more energy to the upside, given that we haven't done this in a while. So this is the 50-period moving average acting as resistance, and we've broken over it and had some follow through, something we haven't seen for pretty much the majority of this year. Actually, if we take a look at this, this is all of this year. So very interesting trend for natural gas, potentially shifting to the bullish side. All right, and looking at gold futures, so our gold futures, wow, look at this move today. So breaking over this resistance line is once again viewed as bullish. So we broke over this resistance line, and it is attempting to push higher. Now, it's interesting to note that you can see here's gold, right? Long consolidation. We kind of talked about this in the past. Very powerful move higher. A little bit less consolidation a smaller move higher. Now, again, this is a smaller consolidation. I'm not discounting the fact that the chart is bullish and it can push higher, but one has to question, how much can gold continue higher? The trend is bullish, right? But just be careful. If it continues higher, we could potentially have a blow off top. But that's to be determined. This is a bullish chart. Your next resistance is, going back to the weekly time frame, of around 1600, right? So your gold resistance is around 1600, and as long as we can keep over this line, that would be construed as bullish gold, even in the short term. All right, so we're going to look at a couple of your comments from the last video. So let me pull that up. By the way, thank you everyone for commenting on the last video. Keep those comments coming. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, of course. And if you disliked it, feel free to hit the dislike button. All right, moviegoer, what are your thoughts regarding Amazon? Thank you for your valuable input. So thank you, moviegoer. And let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon, interestingly enough, was one, and you can see from a list of stocks that I kind of handpicked, Amazon is held up today compared to some of the other FANG stocks, right? So when we look at Amazon, this is what we have. It's holding the 200 period moving average, but it's holding it, but doesn't have the energy to push higher yet. Can you see that? So you can see we hit the 200. What I'd like to see for Amazon is us to rally higher from here. But we didn't. We eventually collapsed back towards the 200, and now we're fluctuating in this vicinity. So here's what I need to see for Amazon. Amazon needs to close over the 20 period moving average. That's the first step for bulls to tell me Amazon has reversed. Until then, this is not a very convincing pattern. You can see getting rejected at the 20. Here's the light blue line, right? Rejected the 20 period moving average, still getting rejected the 20 period moving average. If we can push over, that's bullish, I think. Otherwise, because we're trading in such a long period of time around this vicinity, not my favorite chart pattern, even though we're at the support level. So I need to see something more for Amazon to convince me that, hey, we're ready to push to the upside. So a little bit of a flip in terms of trend or sentiment in this case. All right. Velos, good stuff. Sure would be nice to get out of this current range bound situation. Bull or bear, I don't care as long as there's a clear direction to swing trade for a while, preferably up. Yes, I agree. So with the S&P 500, we've been stuck in this 1 month trading range, and for swing traders, it's kind of difficult, right? Because you're not making as much if you're long, or you're short in either case if you're swinging it, and so it hasn't moved much lately. So yeah, I gotcha. I feel similarly. Steve, thank you. Great advice on XLU. You're welcome. Yeah, so I think XLU had a big move today to the upside, but again, just be careful of those big moves. Like I said, 2, 3, 4, 5% higher, potentially that snapback effect will occur. All right, Peter, I wish natural gas would come back down. I've been buying UNG the last month, but I need it to go back down. I'm already up 6% on that trade. Peter, so great job on your natural gas, and today I bet you did quite nicely with natural gas again. So good job, and keep it up, because this trend is so far going your direction. And with that, thank you everyone for watching this video. I'll post more updates for these analysis when I see more things happening. So far the trend continues to be, for broad markets at least, consolidating sideways. So yeah, thanks once again for watching these videos. Have a great evening, and I will talk to everyone very soon.